White House's involvement in this decision by the Justice Department to start up the death penalty again?
No, I can't actually. I can't comment on that.
Or was this just injustice, or does this make it to
The president is always fully informed as to what the public policy debates are in and around his cabinet, but I can't really comment on that. The president's made very clear he wants stiffer penalties for high-level drug traffickers because I know that they are evading the drug laws because it goes by weight in many cases, and you can have a couple grains of fentanyl that are very lethal for scores of people. So we are working on that. We're actually hopeful that some legislation can be introduced and passed on a bipartisan basis like it was last year.
Bernie Madoff has asked the Trump administration to reduce his sentence, effectively release him.
I've never discussed that with the president.
Do you think that's something the president would consider?
I've never discussed it with the president. We're a little busy doing other things.
Kellyanne, President Trump is a first-class father. What could you tell me about him as a dad?
President Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, exceptional. I've been able to view President Trump with all of his children and his grandchildren up close and personal. He's exceptional. I think that before he was elected, I remember hearing and reading many stories about how the greatest legacy many of us can have is one that he does have, which is exceptional children. That's the real standard of a parent. People used to say all the kids are productive, always worked, nobody's on drugs, nobody's in jail. I remember reading all these stories. Wow, he's got such great children. I think since he got elected and since he got here, including some of his children and in-laws, there's been nothing but harassment of them, which is unfortunate. But he's a great boss too. While we're at it,
the sanctity of life, is that now at stake with the AG bar's reintroduction of the death penalty?
I'm sorry, that I don't understand that question at all.
Well, the
are you talking about unborn life?
President. With the execution of individuals.
Okay, you're getting way ahead of yourself on that.
No, I'm not.
You're getting way ahead of yourself. Babies are being aborted today. You're getting way ahead of yourself on any new death penalty cases. I defend unborn life because they're defenseless.
Kellyanne.
Me personally? I won't comment on that. I think that's a very positive step.
The election security legislation the Democrats are proposing.
It depends what's in it. It depends what's in it. Are we back to that now? I was reading this morning that yesterday was really about election protection. That's pretty funny. I may laugh because, of course, we want our elections protected. I've made very clear for the entire time I've been here, we don't want anyone interfering in our election. I don't want Russia, China. I don't want the mainstream media tipping the scales, trying to tip the scales again. I don't really want any of you or any foreign power interfering in our election, picking sides, choosing sides, being unfair in coverage, and so that I didn't know that that's what yesterday was about. I thought yesterday was supposed to be this unbelievable movie, better than the book, and Bob Mueller was going to pave the golden road, the yellow brick road toward impeachment. Clearly that didn't happen. It's not happening. The impeachment resolution, even before his underwhelming testimony had occurred, was 323 against 95 for, not to be confused with the 17 for the anti-BDS stuff. That was also a disaster. The squad voted on the wrong side of both of those for those keeping score and not fact-checking them. But of course we worry about election security. The president's made that very clear. We have cybersecurity measures, but it really depends what's in their legislation.
Well, what about specifically the bill that would require campaigns that receive offers of foreign assistance to report it to the FBI?
It really depends what else is in the bill. It does. We've made very clear. First of all, I was the campaign manager. You see me nowhere in that report, in these testimonies, because I would never have accepted, invited, wanted, thought it was a good idea to have any kind of foreign government or foreign election. We didn't need anything. All I needed to beat Hillary Clinton was Hillary Clinton, and I appreciate that. It was kind of inexpensive.
But Robert Mueller said that he did not exonerate the president. He specifically said that. How
do you understand what the role of a prosecutor is? Or actually, in this case, a special counsel, the role is to refer an indictment or decline. It's called declination of a referral indictment or refer an indictment. Only for Donald Trump is there a new standard that we're guilty unless proven innocent. The standard in this country is innocent until proven guilty. Not that this was a criminal exercise, but boy, did it really sound that way. And I think yesterday nobody's going to confuse a political exercise with illegal exercise. This was clearly a political stunt by people who were using and abusing Director Mueller and trying to imbue a flawed investigation, an underwhelming report for their purposes, and no juice for impeachment, trying to imbue all those efforts with Bob Mueller's integrity and reputation. I think that's a shame. I saw somebody who did not want to be used and abused by people. I also saw somebody who, it's not clear to me, was in charge of his own investigation, or most of it. I also saw someone who, I read the polls that very few Americans say they've read the Mueller report. I'd like to know if that number includes Bob Mueller himself.
On Monday, the president said that he had been asked to mediate between India and Pakistan by Indian Prime Minister Modi, but the Indian government says that that never happened. Where did the president make that up? Where did he get that idea?
I've not discussed that with the president, but we have a very good and growing relationship with Mr. Modi and the Indian government, and so
if it's a good relationship, why would they deny something like that?
you'd have to ask
unless
them.
The president
You'd have to ask them.
One more go back to
If Robert Mueller did not have the power to exonerate the president, why does the president keep saying that he was totally exonerated by Robert Mueller?
I guess he's been watching TV and reading all of you for 2.5 years, hearing that he was going to be frog marched out of this building somehow, some way, along with people close to him, if not his relatives. And that's unfortunate. We're happy to accept apologies any day. I doubt they'll come. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may as respectfully say as I can, to coin the left-wing movement of 20-some years ago, it really is time to move on. You got to swap out the chyrons, got to get some new graphics, got to get some new expertise. I mean, we have a lot to do for this country, and we could use your help in terms of informing the public what is happening here, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to do with Congress, what we're trying to do on our own administratively. But this country, you know, we all breathe rarefied air. You're really lucky people to be here covering. I'm an exceptionally lucky person to be here. This is nonsense if it continues. We've now had the Mueller investigation, the Mueller report, the Mueller testimony. We've had an impeachment vote. We've had Nancy Pelosi yesterday shooing away with that wrist flicking move that she does so well and so often, shooing away Democrats, senior Democrats, who would like her to move forward with articles of impeachment. She will not do it. She knows how to read the tea leaves. She also knows how to read the numbers. That resolution, impeachment resolution last week failed with just 95 votes for. There's not any juice for this. So you're asking why an innocent person was not exonerated. That's like asking you why you weren't exonerated. The question is, who was really in charge of this investigation? While we're investigating the investigators to know how we got here in the first place, FISA applications and sexting back and forth between what's your name and what's his name. I have no idea how they had so much time to have an affair. They were texting each other all the time. It's kind of weird. But that aside, we need to know who was in charge of the Mueller investigation. Because usually if a book is ghostwritten, they usually at least have a foreword or give somebody credit or let everybody know who else was involved heavily. And I don't like people who are picking on Bob Mueller, the individual. I think that's very unfortunate. I see it's a lot of strong Democratic voices who must be very nervous that Bob Mueller couldn't get done what everybody's been trying to do since 2016, which is get Donald Trump out of the White House. Really got no closer to getting out in the next year either. So like I'm saying, we've got a lot to do. America. I stood before you on Monday. I'm standing before you on Thursday to say the same thing again. Pre-Mueller testimony, post-Mueller testimony. The American people should demand more from Congress. They paid for the Mueller investigation. They paid for the Mueller report. They paid for the Mueller testimony. They see what's happening in Congress and what's not happening. There is no infrastructure. There's investigation. There is no drug pricing. There is a rehash of a report that clearly said no indictment. They see no work on health care, which we're trying to, the president, we're working on the health care plan here. The president is trying to improve it for all those people. So I see none of you still fact-checking your friend Ilhan Omar, the anti-Semite who lied last week about millions of Americans dying because of Donald Trump's health care policies. I don't know if all of your fact-checkers are in the Hamptons and Nantucket, but I can lend you one or two if you really want to start fact-checking people who, for some reason, you're afraid of and very adoring of. Last one.
Kellyanne drug prices. The prescription drug pricing reduction act. Judges tweeted out that the president or the White House supports it. Can you explain why the
Judd Deere tweeted out?
Yeah, he just tweeted out, "We'll continue to work with senators to ensure this proposal moves forward and advances the president's priority of lowering drug prices even further, the White House applauds the Senate Finance. So, question being, can you explain why the White House supports this and what executive orders or actions that the president might be taking along
Sure.
these
Well, the
lines?
president already has taken many actions in his administration to reduce drug prices. The record number of approvals for generics, for example, have really been reducing those prices. First reduction in decades under his watch, but it's not good enough. In other words, he wants them reduced further. We've looked at a number of different measures. I've been in those meetings, looked at a number of different measures to try to make that so, and we're favorable towards that legislation. We'd love to work with Congress on this, but if we can't, we'll continue to do things administratively. We've recently done transparency, HRAs, health reimbursement arrangements for those of you who didn't cover it, and transparency, kidney health. We're doing the building blocks because we have to get out of this conversation about health insurance and back to health care and improving outcomes and curing disease. That includes reducing drug prices. Drug prices really break the back of many seniors in this country, but many people in their household budgets as well. So as we're reforming healthcare overall and improving Medicare and making sure that Medicaid is there for those for whom it was intended, drug pricing is a big centerpiece of that. I'm very happy that very recently the Senate came up with that bill, and obviously the president was meeting with senators earlier this week on a range of issues, including Turkey. But they discussed a range of issues, and we'll continue to talk about drug pricing, a centerpiece of the president's agenda. I'll leave you on a, I think, happy bipartisan note, I would hope. I would recall that a couple of months ago when President Trump spoke with Speaker Pelosi over the phone, he immediately tweeted out, "I just hung up the phone with Speaker Pelosi. We had a great chat. We hope we can work on some things together, including, quote, infrastructure and drug pricing." So hope springs eternal. In a post-Mueller investigation, Mueller report, Mueller testimony world, maybe we can get some Democrats to work with us. I have a feeling there are many Democrats who would like to work with us on things like that. They're always welcome. They're welcome here anytime on their very lengthy, always welcome on their very lengthy recess to come and visit us.
Thank you.
The president's doing this.